Okay, picking up right where we left off. The fourth reason you might choose to use the median instead of the mean, we've covered the first three. The fourth reason is if we are working with data that comes from an ordinal scale or ordinal level of measurement. So remember, with an ordinal scale, we know that we can get different answers and that those answers are ordered, they're ranked. We know more and less, but we don't know exactly how much more and less. So where we tend to see this mistake made most often is in the use of what are called Likert or Likert type scales. So I like the way Paul teaches statistics. You can strongly disagree, disagree, be neutral, agree, or strongly agree. Well, one person says, I agree. I think he's doing a pretty good job. And another person says, well, I'm neutral. I haven't made up my mind yet. He doesn't seem to be doing bad, but doesn't seem to be doing great. Well, we know who likes more and who likes less, the way I'm teaching this, but we don't really know exactly how far apart those are. Really? Because the agree, how much do they agree? Are they borderline neutral and they decided to say agree? Or the neutral person, are they really kind of leaning towards disagree? We don't really know. So what people do, and I've been told to do this, I've been paid to do this by different folks with doctorates, turn these into numbers. That's with 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, and 5 points. And now you can average them out. So the neutral is worth 3 and the agree was worth 4, so the mean is 3.50. The problem is when you're calculating a mean to say that the mean would be 3.50 from the first example, 1 agree, 1 neutral. The problem there is to say that it's exactly 3.50 is assuming that you know that this is a 3 and this is a 4. We just got through saying with an ordinal scale, we don't really know how far apart these two answers are. But this makes us think that they are exactly 1 point apart, which isn't really true of what the scale is. So can you calculate a mean if you have ordinal data? Yeah. Should you? Not really. But a lot of people do. And I've gotten into good-natured debates with other research methods and statistics professors about this. Some say, well, everybody does it now, so it's not really a rule anymore. And I say, well, just because everyone else is speeding doesn't mean I'm not going to get pulled over and get a ticket. It's still a rule. It might just be one that a lot of people are ignoring, but the rule is still there. So really, you should not compute a mean out of this, but a lot of people do anyway. And like I said, I've been paid by folks to do that kind of work, and I took the money, I did it, but shouldn't have been done, really. So now we can roll right into the next. Why would we use the mode instead of the mean or the median? So when should we choose the mode? We're going to find 3 answers to this particular question, as opposed to the 4 we had. So the first reason why you would use the mode is if your data is at the nominal level. So remember, that's the lowest level. So this is telling us that, again, what city were you born in, or what's your major, or what's your favorite food, or what's your preferred color for shirts, or whatever it is. Data just in the form of names with no mathematical values. Well, if there are no mathematical values, how do you compute a mean? If the survey was what's your favorite color, how do I say red plus blue plus green? It doesn't make any sense, right? You can't even turn them into numbers that make any sense. If your data is at the nominal level, the only measure of central tendency available to you is the mode. You can't do a mean. You can't do a median either, because a median, you got to line them up from low value to high value. Nominal data has no mathematical value. So literally all you can do is count and say, this is the answer we got the most. That's all you can do. So if your data is nominal, you have to use a mode. The other reason you should use a mode, or the next reason you should use a mode, is if your variable is a discrete variable. So we learned that term back in chapter 1. A discrete variable is a variable that has separate categories for answers, like color. Is your answer blue or red? There is no word, there's a color between blue and red, but there's no word for in between there. Multiple choice test, A, B, C, or D. You're not going to get any points for A.62. It's either A or it's B, right? No in between values. So if we're using discrete variables, we should also be using a mode. This is another rule that is broken all the time. So let me give you, I'm going to make up the number because I don't really know what it is currently, but the average American family has 2.3 children. Well, the number of kids you have is discrete. You either have 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or however many you've got, right? You've never had a conversation with the same person in your life and you said, do you have any kids? Yeah, how many do you have? 2.3? If someone has a fraction of a kid in their house somewhere, it's time to call the police because something horrible has happened in that home. Kids don't come in fractions. There's either a kid there or there's not. But if you compute the average number of kids, the mean number of kids, you're almost always going to get a fraction. And so it's misleading. It's not telling you what you think it's telling you. Again, people do it all the time. So it's another one of those rules that shouldn't be broken, but people break it a lot. So if our data is at the discrete level, we can't have fractions, we should be using mode for a measure of central tendency. The last idea here is called describing shape. This idea is a little bit different than the others because this isn't about why would I use the mode instead of the other things. This is I would choose to use the mode in addition to the other things. The text mostly talks about mode and mean, but you can do this with any two of the three measures. If you know any two of the three measures of central tendency, you know the mean and the mode, or the mean and the median, or the median and the mode, any combination of two, you can get a pretty good idea of what the shape of the distribution is. Is it normal in its shape? Is it skewed? Is it positively skewed? Is it negatively skewed? So by using more than one measure of central tendency at a time, we can put them together to get those shapes described for us. Again, we're in descriptive statistics at this point. We're trying to paint a picture of our data. We're trying to summarize and organize our data. And so that's one of the things we can do to sort of wrap our head around what kind of data we have. So we're going to do examples of that, but we're going to need to do that in the next video segment. So off we go to the next one to see how we describe shape with the mode.